Welcome to another edition of Law Weekly on Channels Television. I am Shola Soyele. Recently, the Lagos State government, particularly its Ministry of Justice, organized a training session for about 100 magistrates from its judiciary. The move was aimed at institutionalizing community service orders as an additional sentencing option at the disposal of the courts. I went on Twitter, broke the news, and sought the opinion of people and what they thought of that move. Shockingly, I didn't get the kind of response I expected, and here's why. Most of the people who responded admitted that they did not know anything about community service as a sentencing option. So I went looking for the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Ade Ipaye. He's my guest on this program today, and in a short while, he'll be joining me. But first, let's commence proceedings with a recap of the stories from the courts and the legal scene. One issue that has remained a sore point for the judiciary was the face-off between the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Aloysius Katsina Alu, and his brother Judge, Justice Ayo Salami, who was suspended as the President of the Court of Appeal. The news of a resolution has, however, brought a lot of relief to the legal community. After considering the report of an ad hoc committee set up to resolve the crisis, the National Judicial Council, NJC, rose from a two-day meeting last week Thursday with a recommendation to President Goodluck Jonathan that Justice Ayo Salami be reinstated. Meanwhile, a former president of the Court of Appeal, Justice Mustafa Akande, has described the resolution to reinstate Justice Salami as a triumph of justice and the rule of law. He commended those responsible for the move and declared that it showed hope and a bright future for Nigeria. The People's Democratic Party, PDP in Osun State, on its part, has said it will challenge the NJC's recommendation, claiming it amounts to an affront on the judicial system, coming at a time pending cases on the matter remain unresolved. Another issue of interest to the public is the probe surrounding the near collapse of the capital market. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, last week got the nod of an Abuja High Court to file charges of corruption against the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on the Capital Market, Honorable Hembe, and his deputy, Honorable Azubwogo Emeka Ifeanyi. On the 17th of May, both men are to be arraigned on a two-count charge for alleged diversion of public funds. Honorable Hembe and Honorable Ifeanyi were sitting on the probe panel inquiring into the near collapse of the market before a bribery allegation by the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Mrs. Aruma Ote. Ruling on the application by the EFCC, Justice Abubakar Sadiq Umar held that the application has merit based on the proof of evidence. In the two counts charge brought, the anti-graft agency alleged that Honorable Hembe and his deputy converted to their own use the sum of $4,095, that's about 600,000 naira, given to them by SEC as traveling allowance to a conference in Dominican Republic in October 2011, an offense contrary to Sections 308 of the Penal Code Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. And the doctors sacked by the Lagos State government last week threatened to institute fresh suits against the government if it refuses to reverse their sack before the 16th of May. Their counsel, Mr. Bamdele Aturu, says the suit may include one asking the courts to order the government to reverse the sack and another seeking damages against the government owing to what he called the embarrassment and psychological trauma the doctors have been made to go through because of the sack. 788 doctors in Lagos government service were sacked last week Monday because of the doctors' alleged refusal to respond to a query prompted by a 3-day warning strike they embarked on between March 11 and 13, 2012. At the National Industrial Court sitting in Lagos on Wednesday, a suit filed by the doctors on the 24th of April to preempt their sack or any disciplinary action could, however, not go on, as the presiding judge, Benedict Kanyip, was said to be absent. A new date, the 16th of May, has been fixed for hearing. In Ogun State, trial commenced last week Monday in the 38-count charge filed by the EFCC against the former governor of the state, Otumba Gbenga Daniel. The court sitting in Abeokuta, the state capital, listened to the testimony of the first prosecution witness, one Babatunde Adeluola, a business development manager with Sky Bank. Presiding Justice Olariwaju Mabekoje, however, had to adjourn following a controversy on the tendering by the defense team of a statement of account of a company owned by the former governor, which showed parallels in the documents tendered by the EFCC. Both statements were certified by the witness to be genuine. On the 5th of June, the court will rule on the admissibility of the documents. In London, the Suda Crown Court has fixed June 2013 for the asset confiscation hearing in respect of the jailed former governor of Delta State, Chief James Ibori. Judge Anthony Pitts, however, did not give a specific date for the hearing, but agreed to a 3-week trial starting in June. Former Governor James Ibori was convicted and sent to 13 years in prison on the 17th of April after admitting to charges of money laundering.
Beyond news reportage.
Somalia, especially the worst hit in the famine.
Beyond events.
People, especially in Tahrir Square, wave flags.
Some views may be right.
There are many Osama bin Ladens in the world. There are many of them in the United States.
Others disagree. Don't stand on the sidelines. Be part of the decision making. Diplomatic Channel, only on Channels Television.
Welcome back. For an in-depth understanding of the additional sentencing order at the disposal of the magistrates and judges in Lagos State, I'm now being joined on the program by the State's Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Mr. Ade Ipaye. Let me start by asking, the other day there was a training in Lagos for magistrates, and from my interactions with the average man on the streets and even the lawyers, I find out not a lot of people know about this alternative mode of sentencing. So let me ask, what informed this mode of sentencing and why is Lagos introducing it at this time?
Community service as a sentencing option occurs when the presiding magistrate or judge decides that the accused person or defendant is guilty of the offense for which he or she has been charged. And that means he or she has been convicted. Now, upon conviction, there are what I might call sentencing options. You could be asked merely to pay a fine. You could be sent to a term of imprisonment. And those two could go together. You may be asked both to pay a fine and to serve a term of imprisonment. And those had been the most popular sentencing options available in Nigeria. Now, Lagos State government is the first to make a law which now has introduced community service as an option for the presiding judge or magistrate. Now, why introduce that option? It is because there are certain offenses which, for simplicity, we might just call simple offenses, for which you may nevertheless get sentenced to a term of imprisonment, let us say 3 months or 6 months. Now, whatever it is, the effect on the offender can be very far-reaching. The mere fact that you've been in prison attaches to you a kind of stigma. So that is one that you cannot shake off. Even if it's 2 weeks imprisonment, the fact is that you have lived in prison. Okay, so that's one. Then, in most such cases, once you've been sentenced, you are likely also to lose your job because you cannot ask for leave from work in order to serve a prison sentence. So loss of job would, of course, result in loss of livelihood, which will affect not only the convict, but also the spouse, the children, the relatives, and so on. And then being in prison is also, it has its own risks, especially our prisons are congested, and the likelihood of catching a disease or something or the other, or interacting with hardened prisoners. So the person may come out of jail really worse off. Okay, so we thought that we should borrow a leaf from what happens in other jurisdictions, where instead of necessarily saying you must go to prison, the magistrate may consider probation. That is, he says, okay, we'll keep you under watch. I warn you not to commit this offense. In the meantime, pay a fine of X amount, and then we'll keep watch over you. If you do anything unlawful during this period, then you know you are coming back, and I'm sentencing you to prison. Okay. Now, the other one, the main one we are talking about is community service, which is, okay, instead of staying in prison for 3 months, not really helping anybody or helping yourself, go and do sanitation work for a certain number of hours or a certain number of days, or go and assist with the running of a center, maybe for the old people's home or motherless babies home, or in a local government council, assist in cleaning or whatever.
Something
you do some work.
To the community.
Yeah, you do some work that promotes the welfare of the community, and it's a kind of payback thing. You have done something. Every crime is a harm to the society. So make it good by going back to do some work that will be of benefit to the society.
So what categories of offenses or offenders will be liable to this kind of sentencing?
Any offense that can be triable summarily. Okay, straightforward, simple offenses where you are just brought up, the evidence is easily laid out against you. You can plead guilty or not guilty. If you say you are not guilty, you also enter a defense. Those simple offenses for which typically you would have gotten just a few months in prison, or let us say if a hefty fine anyway. So that fine may combine with community service, and community service may take its place. Now, examples not too easy, because the same offense can be aggravated. For instance, stealing. It depends on what you are stealing. It depends on the scale of it. But there may be on the face of it that, okay, this one is not such a serious kind of I mean, you could steal 2,000 naira, you could steal 2 billion naira. Okay, so the judge or the magistrate makes that determination that, okay, this is an offense for which imprisonment is not really the best option, and will advise accordingly.
Will traffic offenses come under this kind of sentencing option?
Yes. Again, the reason I didn't want to give examples, okay, a traffic offense, I mean, not wearing your seatbelt is an offense. Okay, you're driving your car, not obeying the street light is an offense. These are serious offenses, really. And they may, I mean, the magistrate may, considering the particular circumstances of the case, decide that you should do community service. But suppose by not obeying the traffic light, you have hit someone, you have killed someone, you know is a traffic offense, but now murder is in it, or manslaughter, or whatever. It becomes now a far more complex matter. So a simple act of what you might call misbehavior, or a behavior that is not in accordance with the law, may make you liable for conviction or sentencing as a criminal. But then in deciding what sentence to pronounce, the judge or magistrate would have regard to the surrounding circumstances. You see, so it is when he decides that, okay, it's not so serious, that he's likely to resort to community service.
Now, another thing a lot of people are worried about is whether Lagos State has the personnel and the logistics to implement this kind of sentencing option.
Good question, and that is why we didn't start it from the day the law was signed.
When was it?
We realized that it was signed 2011, around late 2011, November or thereabouts. Anyway, but we didn't put it directly into effect because there are certain things to do. Number one, we had to educate all concerned because this is new. And you spoke earlier of the seminar we had with magistrates, for instance. We've had a similar training for the community service officers that we are going to use, the supervisors that we are going to use. We have identified the community service centers where the magistrate can ask someone to go and discharge that service. So these are the things we are doing at the moment. And we are really nearing the end of it. We have trained the personnel that will supervise. So as soon as the pronouncement is made, they take over. These are really social workers that were seconded to us from the Ministry, Office of Youth and Social Development. And then we have engaged a few others who will now be at the ground level, supervisory, that will actually see that the sentence is served.
You talked about the stigma of prison and all that. It's an option to decongest the prison for simple offenses. Really. Yeah. But can we get statistics of prison inmates, what is happening at the prison, what Lagos has done apart from, well, this option of community sentencing that it's being used to decongest the prisons now?
Yeah, there are statistics. The prisons we have requested, and they do send us quite regular information about the prisons. What is clear from the statistics are that, one, the prisons are over congested. Two, that there are more inmates awaiting trial. Just about 70%, or between 65 and 70, are detainees awaiting trial. The real convicts are about 30-35% of the people locked up in prisons, which explains the other efforts that we are making to ensure that the legal advice which we render in order to make the determination whether we will prosecute or not prosecute are issued promptly. Okay, so we are trying to speed up that process. We have reviewed the entire process really and rearranged the personnel in the DPP's office so that due attention can be paid to this issue of legal advice. And then we've set up a crime data register. It's been there for a while, but we just reinvigorated it because to make sure that all the agencies do what they should to give all the information about any detainee and what has happened to him or her since then. The police, the prisons, the judiciary, the Ministry of Justice, so that the question of not knowing, the police might arrest someone, the person may end up in prison custody, and I don't know, the DPP doesn't know. There is no legal advice being processed at all. So the person is just there and lost and anonymous. We want to now do away with that as much as possible by ensuring that we all feed data into this crime data register. So we can do a search. You can search. If some NGO should come to me and say, okay, we hear this person is in prison awaiting trial, what's the status? I should be able to check on the computer and tell the status of that person. So all of these, we hope, will help us process trials more quickly and therefore get a lot of these awaiting trial inmates out or properly convicted, so they really know that they are in prison.
I heard that there are also plans to implement what is called probation and restitution. I don't know.
Yes. These are all the novel options that were put in our criminal justice administration law. I mentioned probation earlier. It's just like saying, okay, you committed this offense, but I'm just going to give you a chance. I'm going to let you go, but I'll keep you under watch for X number of months. And if you do anything untoward within that period, you may find yourself in jail. So that's the probation option. Okay. Then restitution. Yes, very important. You know, in the past, if someone stole something and is arrested and found guilty and convicted and sent to prison, the victim really doesn't get anything out of it. He doesn't get his property back. Even if the offender is fined, the fine goes to government. It doesn't go to the offender. Restitution now enshrines in our laws the necessity for the victim to get back whatever has been taken from him. Okay, so if it's a stealing or obtaining by false pretense and any of such, and the property in question has been traced, or its equivalent has been traced, the magistrate or judge can order that it be given back to the victim, and that is what is called restitution. Now, where there is restitution, it is good argument in favor of shortening the prison sentence or using probation or community service instead, because after all, everything has been recovered and returned to the victim, and perhaps the victim has also made a public declaration that, okay, he's satisfied, he has forgiven the offender, but the state may not let the offender go free. He may still pay a fine, he may still go for community service, he may still even serve a small, but the sentence that he or she will serve will not be as long as if the thing stolen was not recovered and restored to the victim. So, by shortening prison sentencing, in any case, it then means that it works also towards decongestion.
By way of rounding up on this subject of community service options, is there anything that I've left out or that you would like us to specifically know about this mode of sentencing and what else Lagos has in place?
Well, what I would say in response to that is that we are having in Lagos today a criminal justice system that is at once fair on all parties, the victim, the convict, the judiciary, the prisons. We're trying to be fair, making it easier for everyone, making the system move faster. But on the other hand, you will see that we are able to enforce more the laws that we have. We take law and order seriously. Okay, so we cannot go that full scale that we want to go with enforcement, which will mean more arrests, more trials, unless we set up a system that will ensure that the system moves quickly, faster. Okay, so we are doing the two at the same time. Okay, so we are going to have very soon, we've sent the bill to the House, a new road traffic law, for instance, which will criminalize a lot of the things that we do carelessly on the roads that had led to the kind of road congestions that we have, the menace of all sorts of unlicensed drivers, unlicensed Okada drivers, and so on and so forth. You see? So, once that is in place, we want to be sure also we have a system to process the offenders as soon as they are arrested.
You know I can't let you go without talking about the recent sack of some doctors by the Lagos state government. There are those who say that why would Lagos go ahead to take this route despite the pendency of a court suit on the matter?
Let me first clear the aspect of the pendency of a suit. The court papers were served on us. I was even in ESCO Friday afternoon. By Friday afternoon, the sack letters were ready anyway. But what you should note is that the dismissal of an employee is not something that takes place in one day. There's a process that leads up to it. Even the letter of dismissal, there's first a decision by the employer to dismiss. Okay, so the whole talk about us sacking when there's a pending suit is really, there's really nothing to it.
That's the program this week. As always, I'd like to hear your feedback. If you have questions, comments, or even suggestions for the Attorney General, tweet at me via @IamShola, send me a mail via lawweekly@channelstv.com, or look for Law Weekly on Channels TV on Facebook, like the page, and post your comments. I'm Shola Soyele. Thank you for watching.